I got to see one of those scenes. It was great. I know that you're all dying to ask questions. Do I have any questions out there? Somebody wants to ask? No? Do I see any hands? I can't see.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
What was the budget for the film?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we can't tell you that.
When you see it, you tell us.
So I know there was a lot of interest about what would the women wear in this movie. You know, how were they going to portray themselves? And there was there. Did you deal with that a lot yourselves in working with Mira? Did Mira have a strong say in what everybody was going to look like, not just talk about?
I think it's interesting. We considered that a lot, and each of us, you know, Sarah, Anna, and I had conversations both with Teresa Binder, who's a Philly local, a woman, amazing, about how our costumes would represent us as people. So I can't, you know, Sarah can speak to her character. I was really curious. I play as a U.S. attorney in it, who's sort of trying to bring down the bad guys. And I was looking at, on a costume level, the influences of men, quite frankly. And I wanted to sort of create a character that had more of a menswear quality to it. I had written a lot of backstory into my own character that you never find out about, but that, like, she used to be FBI, and she really wanted to be like her dad, and so she wears a lot of suits. You only once see her in a dress, and we actually added a line based on this idea I had, where when the one time she wears a dress, her partner in the office is like, "Oh, did I see you in a dress last night?" teasing her, and I'm like, "Oh, shut up." So that's the way I wanted to use costume to sort of express my character and express who she was, and that she wasn't afraid to wear pants, and that she wore a lot of pants, and sort of a menswear style, which made her feel really strong and powerful. Sarah, what would you say?
Yeah, I think, well, with Mira, one thing I do think Mira brought out in all the characters is she has a sense of color. And so there's a line in the movie about don't let money be a dirty word. And someone has a green pen. It's the color of money. And each of the women wear green at a certain point in the movie. And this is something you would never notice if you're a viewer, unless you actually went back and I told you it, and now you'll notice it when you see the movie. But it's actually a really cool thing that Mira brought to the table. And then in terms of my character, I'm a Wall Streeter, and I'm very early pregnant in the movie. And trying to hide it. So with costume, first of all, when you do a movie, you shoot all out of order. And they're involved different levels of padding on each scene. So I will never do that again because, like, you know, I had a butt pad like one day and then boob pads and all, yeah. But so that was part of the costume. But I think it addressed women in business who are pregnant and the wardrobe and why they feel they have to hide it. So, there was peplum and shirts untucked as the movie went on.
That's all particularly fascinating to me, since I used to be a costume designer, and I once in a while would have the opportunity where an actor would say that, you know, that something about their character, that the way they wanted to dress, but they were never the producers also. So it's a very, very different kind of input that you get, I think, from an actor who's also a producer, rather than one that's, you know, just playing a role. They don't have quite as much, unless they're a very powerful actor, of course.
And I actually think there should be more dialogue in that circle, like actor to costume designer, because I do think what you wear as an actor is important to how you act.
Yeah, no, that's great. Do we have any other questions? Anyone dying out there to ask a question? I see a hand back there.
You sparked my curiosity. Why can't you tell us the budget? You were so quick and thorough about it.
The film does not yet have distribution, and so numbers about what the budget is can affect the offer. So we want you to think this is like $100 million movie, and then they buy it for $101 million. That's an exaggeration, but that is the reason.
So you don't want to be seen as clever, scrappy folks who made this glorious movie for $10,000.
Once we sell it, we do.
Yeah.
So,
And it wasn't $10,000. So you know, it was, yeah.
You want to be seen as, you want it to reflect its gloriousness, you want it to look like the high-end production that it is when you go to the next stages of getting distribution straight to people.
Absolutely, and also specifically, like and I love Ed Burns, but it's not an Ed Burns movie. It's a Wall Street movie, so there is a gloss and wealthy look the film has to have. Whereas if we were doing an Ed Burns movie, maybe it would be more marketable to say, this is low budget.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone saw Grandma, but it was a movie that was just done with Paul Feig, and he was very proud, even before he sold it, that he made it for under $600,000 because it's a road movie with Lily Tomlin, and he was very proud that he could do that, you know, because he scraped by and he did it all on favors. We're very proud that we have a helicopter and a Mercedes in the movie.
on the
$1
other
million Mercedes.
Yeah, $1 million. Yeah, a Maybach for those of you in the know.
And of course, Night Shyamalan made a big deal about how he financed his latest movie, which is out in theaters and doing so well, because it was showing that he's going in a different path. So come see this movie, which I just saw, by the way. It's fantastic.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's great. So, Sarah, Backwards was the first movie you ever were involved in making, correct?
Correct.
So tell us what your path was, because Backwards, by the way, was, of course, also shot in Philadelphia. It's a real Philadelphia crewing woman's story, a great woman's story, and both of you were involved in Backwards. So tell us about your own journey as a filmmaker, as a little girl growing up in the Philadelphia suburbs and wanting to make these movies about women. How did you get there?
How long do we have? The quick version. I love Philadelphia. I love Sharon, and I love working with the film office here, and that's the truth. And I love shooting in Philly. And to me, my first movie was I wanted Philadelphia to be a character. This movie, Equity, takes place in New York, so that wasn't possible. But I think if you see Backwards, Philadelphia really is a character in the movie. I went to college. I was always a theater major, always knew I wanted to act, and started in acting and producing theater in New York. I did that for a while, always female stories. So the first thing I did was a gender-reversed Love Labor's Lost, which we marketed as Sex and the City Meets Shakespeare, which was lots of fun. But for me, it was this discovery when I went to graduate school in acting in London, and I got back home and just seeing the lack of depth on screen and on stage for women, and wanting to be part of the change of that. And then, as the story goes, there's not a lot of money in theater, nonprofit theater. It's very difficult to get a full repertoire, not just do one play a year, but do 4 or 5. And I really wanted to try to go into film. And so I was actually a rower in high school and college, and you always write about what you know. And I thought it would be a really interesting story to tell about a woman who doesn't make it. So she's the #1 alternate for the Olympics. So she spent her whole life training, yet she's right below where she wanted to be. And she comes back home and has to rediscover her life and what she wants to do with it. So in terms of the journey, that's what led me to Backwards, and I realized that I actually love filmmaking, love the whole process of producing from start to finish, except for the fundraising. But once you have the money. But just being able to create this story, and so many people who aren't in film, the directors are the people who are often, if they're not the producers, they're the names you remember. But it truly is, we need more female producers, because that's where it starts. That's the creation of the story and the hiring of everyone. And so I'm fascinated with being lucky enough to be involved with the whole process. And then Alicia was in Backwards as well, and she was also an associate producer in Backwards. And when we were thinking of our next thing that we wanted to do together, we talked about bringing it to Philly because I had such a positive experience on Backwards.
We were on set on
love hearing
Backwards.
that,
Yeah,
right?
we were on set on Backwards. I'm like, what are we going to do next? And she's like, don't talk to me about next. Where I'm done. I can't do this ever again. And then,
like
I
having a
waited a
baby.
couple years. I had a baby. And then we were like, okay, let's, and then we forgot how painful it was. And here we are.
It's exactly like having a baby, right?
Yes, and we're not doing this again until we are.
We're not doing it again for a really long time until we have a big staff. That's our next,
We need assistance. Just
Yeah, a little bit more budget. Interns, right? Well, the interns.
oh, the intern thing.
interns.
You're not allowed to have interns.
was
It's
really
fascinating because
upsetting,
we had so many people reach out to us who wanted to work on this movie. We had a woman, I'm not kidding you, I can't believe I'm about to say this, from Australia who wanted to fly herself from Australia to come be an intern on this movie. And we have an AD who's by the book. And because recently there was a huge lawsuit about interns, he said you cannot have any interns unless they get college credit. And if this girl from Australia can get college credit somehow, she's welcome to fly herself and comes put herself up and whatever. But if not, she can't do it. And I would say we had at least 50 people reach out to us to be interns that we could not hire because they were not affiliated with a university, which was fascinating to me and just so heartbreaking because I really would have loved the free labor.
Well, and also in addition, the one intern that we could use who was affiliated with the college got a
fantastic,
huge job after the
fantastic.
movie. Was our production designer works on The Americans?
yeah.
and now she's working on The Americans. So
Yeah.
it's such a So we wish more people could have that opportunity.
It is a really great opportunity, and we have interns in our office, and I'm sure many of you out there have already gone through this experience who are working in the business and need interns. But now we always only had interns that get college credit, but once in a while you would get somebody else who was begging to be an intern. You just can't do it anymore. You just can't. Or you have to pay. You have to pay, and most of us can't do that. So
Back to that budget thing.
back to the budget thing, exactly. Well, we have a little nonprofit. So are you thinking about what your next project is, or you just can't think about it at this point?
Yeah, I think one of our goals for this from the beginning would be that it would be a backdoor pilot. So we are thinking about it as a TV series. And interestingly enough, we had our first tiny test screening recently. And one of the things people talked about was how many rich characters there are and how much you want to know more about them all. Now, in the movie, that we're going to have to sort of scale that back because it's Naomi's story and we want it to be a really clear journey for Naomi. But we have these really rich characters that could really serve us long term.
That's interesting. Well, I love that idea. I mean, look what they've done with Limitless, exactly, which was shot in Philadelphia. So, sadly, we don't have the series here, but I saw the first show. It was really great, and it's true. There's if you've got a great story and you've got great characters, you have an opportunity, especially now, to expound on those. And I don't know why there isn't room for you to just take over for Shonda Rhimes and and just move forward.
Sure.
Totally.
Why not? Why not?
Well, and the ending in the movie is really open-ended. I mean, we purposefully created it as a trilogy or a series, because again, that's fun.
Very
Yeah.
clever. So you actually did think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From day one, from the first development of it.